I am building a web application. Why, how, what application is it, a business idea or not? I want to answer these questions in this video. For those of you who don't know me, I am a full-time software developer who has a non-traditional background. I majored in linguistics, then I learned how to code on my own, and ever since I worked as a freelance developer, also as a computational linguist, and finally I transitioned into a software engineering role, and now I am a full-time software developer. I can definitely see myself building an MVP for one of my ideas in the future, or maybe building applications from scratch for other people and for their ideas. And the thing is, I don't think that I have enough knowledge and experience to do so. It's not like I want to do this right now, like build an MVP or build applications for others. No, it's something that I see I could be doing sometime in future. And a couple of months ago, I decided that I could start gaining the experience and learning the right tools to be able to do this in a couple of years or so. So I thought that it could be good to actually build a full stack application, a real world app, a complex app from scratch, completely on my own. So my main reason for starting this app is actually to learn things, to learn some new technologies maybe along the way, to get better at the technologies that I already know and maybe work with, and to gain this experience of building an app from scratch, from just nothing to a functioning application, and to better understand how different components of an app work together to make up this application. So I started building my React app for the front end part. I use React with TypeScript, and it's going to be Express.js on the back end with probably Prisma, ORM, and Postgres database for those of you who are interested in the technical details. Honestly, I think that when you want to learn how to code, how to be a developer, a software engineer, the best thing you can do is to start building things earlier. I do see the value in taking courses, reading, learning things, theoretical things, reading the docs. All of this is important, but it's not going to be useful unless you actually apply it. And if you can do this early, that's just better for you. I started building things early on. I think once I just read HTML and CSS docs, I started building a website with this new knowledge, and I remember it being very frustrating and difficult for someone who's very new. But also I think this is something that helped me transition from linguistics to software engineering quicker than I could have. So there is a lot of value in actually building things when you want to learn how to be a software developer. I am super excited about this small project of mine, maybe not as small actually. I decided to take it slow, to keep my pace and not to rush things. I find it super important, especially if you have a full-time job and other responsibilities. It's really easy to get overwhelmed and burnt out when doing things, building things in your free time. So that's one thing, and I guess you could say that's a learning, because this is not the person that I used to be. I like to do things quicker, push myself, but now it doesn't feel right. Another learning is that it is okay to forget things. I started with front end, so I started building UI components in React plus TypeScript, and I didn't feel comfortable building that React code, the front end piece, just because I haven't been working with React and especially building components this much. So at work, my stack is React and Ruby on Rails, but I just feel like I haven't been doing a lot of front-end stuff lately. So I forgot some of the things. I don't remember the last time I actually wrote any styles, and I don't remember the last time I had to set up certain things in an application myself from scratch. So my first reaction to not knowing, not remembering, was frustration. It just felt like I just lost the skill, the knowledge. But I guess it is also fine if you don't really work with the technology. It's the same with language. Like if you learn the language to a good level, I mean human natural language, and you could speak it, it doesn't mean that you don't need to have any practice to be able to retain the skill. So the same with, I guess, coding. If you don't do a certain thing on a daily basis, it's fine to kind of forget it a little bit. I am in love with Tailwind CSS, and it's probably my favorite way to write styles in an application so far. If you're not familiar with Tailwind CSS, it is, I guess you can call it a CSS framework. They basically provide utility classes, so small classes that help you style your components, so you don't have to write CSS properties like in a separate file, or maybe after your component. You can only use the small classes to style your code, and it is super helpful and useful, and it is easy to learn and to use because pretty much most of the classes represent one CSS property. So it also helps you to actually learn CSS, because without knowing CSS, it's hard to understand Tailwind. Long story short, I love it. I like it that there is no additional learning for Tailwind, like with other libraries like Bootstrap, an example on top of my mind. So it's easy to learn, and it is so minimalistic in code. I mean, you don't have to have separate files and just a lot of lines of CSS code, which is nice. And now let's get a little bit more technical, and I am gonna share my progress so far. This is a React application on the front end. I'm using TypeScript to write my React code, and I've already done a couple of things. So basically the UI is already there, most of the layouts for mobile, because I started with mobile and I did not do the desktop version just yet. I also find it easier to start with mobile and just make things bigger than otherwise starting from the desktop view and then going down. So we've got the layouts, we've got the forms already styled, but not really completely done yet. Also, we've got an Express.js server that serves some data on some endpoints. Remember, all of this is work in progress. Well, there will be some refactoring and redoing things, and of course completing things because it's not done yet. I've got the forms, and I set them up with React Hook Form, a library which makes it easier to validate all the fields, and it has a very nice and easy way for you to print error message, to get these error messages. So that also made it easier for me. But the forms are not actually functional because they don't send any data, so there are no requests to the backend yet. I am currently working on this. So I'm working on enabling this communication between my front end and backend part. The last thing that I did was set up my Redux store. I know it is a controversial thing. Maybe many people are against Redux in smaller applications, and I realized that this app, it is not as big. It's just I want to use Redux because I will probably building bigger apps and I want to know how to set it up. I did set it up already, but it was a while ago and I don't really remember. And also I wanted to look into tools around Redux, like Redux Saga, Redux Toolkit Query. So yeah, this is a relatively small app, but I'm still using Redux. And that was the last thing that I've done, and I will be still working on this and on enabling data fetching and this kind of jazz. And then I have more things to do in my React app. Of course, I will need to set up a database and connect it to my backend application, and the last step is going to be deploy it and have it up and running for everyone to see. Oh yeah, and also doing authentication is going to be a big part. I did it only once and it was very confusing, and I didn't have to do it anymore. anywhere. So that's going to be also a great learning opportunity. To summarize everything a little bit, the application that I'm building is for learning purpose, is because I want to improve my knowledge and understanding of some technologies and also of the overall system, how different parts connect to make up an application. And this experience is going to be useful for me in the future when I decide to build an MVP or build applications for other people, so applications from scratch. And I think you should do the same if you are learning how to code, if you are new to programming. I think building applications, building things, it's one of the most efficient way to learn how to code. But even if you are experienced, I think it is fun to build things, and you still get to learn new tools and new technologies, which is a lot of fun. So here is my life update, we can say. Thank you guys for watching. Share in the comments if you have a technology or a tool that you are currently learning as a software developer, engineer, or an aspiring developer. It'd be interesting to chat. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel for more tech, languages, life content. See you guys next time.